Alright, hello everyone. So this is going to be looking at the Indicant Trial Rodion Ego. This ego is interesting, I would say. It's a bit Garden of Thorns Gregor-ish, yeah. Basically, this ego is going to be a healing ego for the Wrath team in particular, because the energy is going to be 7 Wrath and 3 Pride. It can go up to 7 attack weight. You just need to get 6 Wrath Resonance every time you use this ego here. It is 888, so the damage output is still quite okay. The healing is only up to 3 allies, and is going to have the typical WoW ego lose 10 SP at turn end. It inflicts 8 burn potency, and the Searing Birdcage here is going to be quite a okay debuff, I would say. The ref resistance increases by 0.3, right? With this first form here, you can do it by getting your 6 ref resonance divided by 3, that gives you 2, then 2 plus 1, that's going to be your 3 Searing Birdcage. So the increase in the ref resistance is quite nice, and the fact that it's next turn means that you could do a big ref attack next turn. The problem I have with this ego is that it's not that worth it compared to a lot of the other WoW egos. Mainly WoW egos, right? The funny thing is that most of the time we are using them straight up for just big stat stick board wipes, right? If you look at the current Refraction Railway, we basically don't need any healing at all. We are just going to go in, we are going to look for some of the biggest nukes that we can find, and we're going to wipe out the entire enemy team. If we go to Mirror Dungeon and other stuff, actually most of the time is actually going to be something like that. And you can always just use something like Fluid Sac Faust, which you can eventually generate the resources for if you really do need the sanity or you really need the healing. This ego here, the trade-off for not having any sanity heal and not having a 7 all allies heal is that it's very, very cheap compared to something like Fluid Sac. Fluid Sac uses all of the elements that they kind of cannot generate as often, but with this and this, it's actually very easy to pop this ego just so you can keep pumping out healing if you need to, or keep pumping out this Birdcage and burn potency for your ref stuff later on. The fact is, we don't have enough IDs or egos to justify, I would say, using a Searing Birdcage debuff at all, right? Like, this can increase ref damage output, but if you look at the burn team, it's not really about punching really, really hard yet. We don't have an Unga Bunga burn team yet. What we have is a burn team that just straight up does burn damage to the target. And burn doesn't even do ref damage, by the way. Burn is just fixed damage by the effect's potency. So this doesn't really affect the damage output from the burn. I'm not even sure if it affects the damage output of your magic bullet Otis, actually. Let me double check. For Dark Flame, does it do ref damage? Because if it does do ref damage, then that does increase the effect. Deal value times burn, it does pride affinity damage. So yeah, it doesn't even help in terms of buffing that specific damage. So this Birdcage, looking at it, it looks like maybe a setup to future burn Unga Bunga teams, right? Because if you look at Sang Dawn, for example, she's reminding me a little bit of the Blood Fiends. The Blood Fiends, they want a little bit of bleed on the target, and they don't really care if they have a lot of bleed on the target. If they have a lot of bleed, good for them, even more. But they don't need that much, because all they need is to drink the blood. So if we assume that later on they will release burn IDs that want to suck the burn, and maybe like if the enemy take burn damage, we get the firefist or some shit like that, then this thing here might make more sense later on, because then we will have Firefist Gregor with the ref attack, very big, humongous nuke, and then they introduce a few more IDs that have humongous ref nukes, then this Searing Birdcage makes some sense to use. Until then, this current Searing Birdcage is not very useful for the current burn playstyle of apply burn, apply Dark Flame, do pride damage to enemy, and do fixed damage to enemy. Right? This doesn't really increase a lot of our damage right now, right? I think the only one that it majorly increases is something like Stigmatize from Philip Clare. That's really the only big ref nuke that I can see being utilizing this Searing Birdcage very, very well. Otherwise, the rest of them is just kind of typical 3 coins, 4 coins in damages, right? So not really super massive damage compared to something like Firefist Gregor skill 3, which is going to have a shit ton of damage multipliers on top of them. The Liu Association, the problem with them is that they don't have a lot of damage multipliers. They only have like 50%-ish damage multiplier. When Firefist Gregor has 200 something percent on his skill tree, that's how you know that they are being power crept already. Right, so until we get the Unga Bunga burn units, I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of use of this Searing Birdcage. But when we do get them, we are going to see a lot of funny numbers with the Corrosion, because the Corrosion can do a 5 stack of Searing Birdcage, but only for this turn. And if you do 5 stacks, increasing resistance by 0.5, that's going to be a lot of extra damage. This ego itself also does quite a substantial amount of damage, and applying even more wrath damage up to all of the allies afterwards is going to be quite significant. So the good thing about this ego, right, is that it's generally quite cheap for the wrath team. The bad thing is that we currently don't have the IDs to really take full advantage of Searing Birdcage. Yes, you can increase damage by quite a substantial amount right now, but it's not so big that you would want to burn these resources on this. You might as well just burn it on the Magic Bullet Otis. The more you spam Magic Bullet Otis, the more you get big Dark Flames, the more you get your speedrun burn. So I think that is going to be a lot better than just using this ego at all. If you really do need healing in the case where you mismanage something, then Fluid Sac will be a better stabilizer, because you actually get SP and healing, and it heals everyone. And you will be running your LCE Faust most of the time for your final team comp. I'm hoping that we will see more units like the Sank Dawn, because if we get more like Sank Dawn, then it would definitely make more sense for this Searing Birdcage to be used in your team comp. And then otherwise, the Corrosion here, this thing here is basically a setup in itself. Right, this ego will want to try to roll maximum hits, but because you eat 40 sanity, you're unlikely to get maximum hits. You will only have a 55% chance of rolling maximum hits, assuming you use this at your 45 sanity mark. You can do 7 AoE in total, inflict a bunch of burn and burn count to all the targets you hit, and apply this Birdcage here, and then you can do your big nuke here, and this big nuke will be multiplied by this Birdcage that you've applied beforehand. Right. Then after that, you maybe kill the guy, then you can get the damage bonus, but this is more of a bonus than anything. You can just use it for boss damage, where you do a lot of damage here, assuming you can roll the hits, assuming you have all of the Searing Birdcage stacks here, and you have 50 burn potency for additional 100% multiplier. So overall, this ego here feels like a beat stick. Something that you would use to try to wipe out all enemies. It does a okay amount of AoE damage. So in the Wrath team, where they need a little bit of help in just wiping out all enemy teams, because the AoEs for the Wrath team right now is going to be Bullet Otis, as well as this Indicant's Trial most of the time. I think the 4th Match Flames are not bad, but they are not really 7 AoE level. This one is a 7 AoE level, so it might be used for that purpose. And this additional burn potency is also quite useful. The healing itself is not something you really want to be using this ego for, in my opinion. And then the passive is also a little bit tricky to use, because when this passive triggers, right, it needs 10 plus burn count, then the target dies. By the time you get to 10 plus burn count, the target is probably dead long ago. So this is a bit hard to achieve with our current units, right? We're not going to shit out that much burn count onto one guy and expect him to live. By that time, he's probably gonna die already. If we can somehow do that though, then we can inflict the burn count on the target between all enemies and then heal sanity for yourself. And if you're at max sanity, you heal 5 SP for one ally with the least sanity instead. Assuming that we are doing this to a boss, that could be some sanity healing, but if we really needed sanity, you should just use another sanity healing ego. You could use Holiday Otis, for example, if you really needed sanity, if you have no resources for the Fluid Sac Faust that you will bring with your LCE Faust and so on. You can even use your Bygone Days Gregor, if I remember correctly, although that one uses a lot of Gloom, so maybe you don't want to spam that one too much, because the Gloom is a little bit tricky to generate in the Wrath team. But yeah, basically I'm talking semantics here. This passive here is a little bit sus because of the fact that you need 10 plus burn count, but it could also be potential. It means that they want to release more IDs in the future that will introduce more burn count shenanigans and help to spread it around. I don't know, okay? A lot of you have said that since there is a chance that we will get a Walpurgis in between this season and the next one, which does make sense, then the burn theory here might not even be so true. So yeah, I can accept that as well. So really, I'm a bit sus here with this passive here. this awakening part here, I can only hope and cope for more wrath stupid shit like the firefist Gregor skill tree, and then this part here will make a lot more sense, because then that will be a massive multiplier for the entire wrath team later on. Until then, this ego is basically just a sort of cheap ego for healing purposes, and a decent ego to use to just do a bunch of AoE and do a bunch of burn spreading. So if you just want to do that, then this ego suits its purpose. Otherwise, you might as well wait until later on to go and pick up this ego, because right now I don't see the units to get it and I don't know when they'll be coming. So in terms of value, not really that important. But if you are a late game character like me, basically we can just get whatever we want, right? I already spent basically everything. When the season change comes, I'll pick up this one, this one, this one, because I'm able to just farm all of these boxes. Oh, I'm going to keep this gift, by the way, forever, so I'm not going to bother with that one. But I have enough boxes, I have enough time to go and grind extra shards to go and dispense every single one of my IDs and egos, no problem at all. So if you're late game, feel free to go and get this character later on. Do not pull this character with Lunacy. That is 100% true, because the next banner, for all we know, could be the Walpurgis before the next season, or it could be the next season one, and then after that is Walpurgis. It's either or. Walpurgis is definitely coming soon, so we are not gonna burn our hard-earned Lunacy for this kind of banner. Definitely do not do it. It's only one ego and you can dispense it on the 24th. Just be a little bit patient. This ego doesn't even do anything right now. There's no setup for it. There's nothing really important about it, right? So for now, just keep it clean and don't go and pull this ego. Just dispense it after a few more days pass. I am definitely getting it because I love the goose and I love the animations, and I also like having a wrath humongous AoE to try and do some wipeout stuff in terms of speeding up some of the dungeon runs. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. Thanks guys for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.